బ్యాంకింగ్ మీద ప్యాసేజ్. స్టార్ట్. According to Section 26 of the Negotiable Instruments Act, a minor may draw, endorse, deliver, and negotiate such instruments so as to bind all the parties except himself. He need not incur any liability under the negotiable instrument, but he can acquire rights over the instruments. However, the minor is bound by the withdrawals made by him and the bank can legally debit his account. Therefore, a banker may open an account in the name of a minor in the following ways: in the name of the minor, or in the joint names of the minor and his guardian, or in the name of guardian. In the first case, an account can be operated by the minor himself and there is nothing unlawful, since section 26 of the act allows the minor to do so. In the second case, an account can be operated jointly by the minor and his guardian. In the third case, when the account is operatable on behalf of the minor should have completed 14 years and he must be capable of reading and writing. As the minor is immune from the liability under the contract, the banker must be very careful and should take the following precautions while dealing with the minor. He may open savings bank account and not a current account in the name of a minor. The bank records the date of birth of the minor as given by the minor or his guardian. When the minor attains majority, the banker has to close the account and should open a new account in his name as major. The credit balance, if any, from the closed account should be transferred to the new account. In case the minor dies, the guardian can be permitted to withdraw the amount. In case of joint account in the names of minor and his guardian, the balance will be held at the absolute disposal of the guardian. There is no risk involved so long as minor's account shows credit balance. In case the minor's account is overdrawn by mistake or unintentionally, the banker cannot recover the amount. Even if the minor has pledged some asset as a security, such pledge itself is invalid and the banker cannot exercise any lien over it. The reason is a minor can be a promisee or beneficiary but cannot be a promisor. The banker should not grant an advance to a minor even against the guarantee by a third person who is a major, since the contract with minor itself is void. The guarantor or surety also is not liable unless there is some specific provision to that effect. A minor may draw, endorse, or negotiate a check or a bill, but he cannot be held liable on such check or bill. He cannot be sued in respect of a bill accepted by him during his minority. Such bill or check, nevertheless, will be a valid instrument and all other parties will be liable in their respective capacities. The banker should therefore be very cautious in dealing with a negotiable instrument to which a minor is a party. According to Section 6 of the Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act 1956, in case of a minor boy or an unmarried girl, his father and after him the mother shall be the natural guardian. In case of a married girl minor, her husband shall be the natural guardian. The terms father or mother does not include stepfather or stepmother. If the father becomes a sannyasi or does not remain Hindu, he shall not be entitled to remain as guardian. If the father is alive and is not removed from guardianship, the mother does not become the natural guardian of her minor child. A Hindu father who is entitled to act as a natural guardian of his minor legitimate children may, by will, appoint a guardian for any of them in respect of the minor's person or property. Such guardian acts after the death of the father or the mother. A guardian may be appointed by the court under the Guardians and Wards Act 1890, but the court shall not be authorized to appoint or declare a guardian of the person of a minor if his father is alive and is not, in the opinion of the court, unfit to be guardian of the person of the minor. Similar is the case with the minor girl whose husband is not, in the opinion of the court, unfit to be guardian of her person. Thus, the father or the husband, in case of a married girl, is exclusively entitled to be the guardian. The welfare of a minor shall be a paramount consideration of the court while appointing a guardian. Illiterate persons cannot sign their names, and hence the bankers take their thumb impression as a substitute for signature, and also a copy of their recent photograph. The application form and the photograph should be attested by an approved witness. For withdrawing money, he must attend personally and affix his thumb impression in the presence of an official of the bank for the purpose of identification. According to Section 12 of the Indian Contract Act 1872, a person of unsound mind is not competent to enter into a valid contract. A person is said to be of sound mind for the purpose of making a contract if he is capable of understanding it and of forming a rational judgment as to its effect upon his interest. It is important that he should be of sound mind at the time he enters into a contract. If a person is usually of unsound mind but occasionally of sound mind, he may make a contract when he is of sound mind. Similarly, if a person is usually of sound mind but occasionally of unsound mind, he cannot enter into a valid contract when he is of unsound mind. A contract entered into by a person of unsound mind is a void contract according to the Indian Contract Act 1872. The banker should therefore not open an account in the name of a person who is of unsound mind. But if a banker has discounted a bill duly written, accepted, or endorsed by a lunatic, he can realize the money due on the same from such person except in the circumstances where it is proved that the banker was aware of the lunacy of the person concerned at the time he discounted the bill. The banker should suspend all operations of the account of a customer as soon as he receives the news of his lunacy till he gets the proof of his sanity or is served with an order of the court. A married woman is competent to enter into a valid contract. A banker may therefore open an account in the name of a married woman. A married woman has power to draw, hold, and endorse checks, bills, etc., and give valid discharge for payments made to her. The banker, before opening an account in the name of married woman, make necessary enquiries about her husband's name, his occupation, and the name of his employer, and also about her character and social status. In case of overdraft, the banker may find the nature of her right over the property. The position of a Hindu married woman is now considerably developed. Section 14 of Hindu Succession Act 1956 says that property of Hindu female should be absolute property. Under Section 20 of the Indian Succession Act 1925, A married woman is not disqualified by reason of her marriage.